The chill of late fall was giving way to the first bite of winter, but Jeanne had little understanding of what was going on. The accident that killed Stefan had left her in the hospital as well. She'd been fully conscious for only a few days when the news was broken to her that only she had survived the car accident that killed her fiancé. She had been driving, and only took a moment to look down at a text from her sister-in-law Frida. It wasn't a frivolous message in the least. They were lost and late to dinner. It was at their new house, up in the hills, and they had never been there before. Stefan was asleep. Frida was giving her a quick shortcut. However, fate did not seem to care if the message was silly or serious, and neither did the semi-truck that turned their SUV into a crushed hunk of metal. She knew that addiction was a federal crime now, and that the police would be coming for her. The rules had been changed. No longer was a person sick with a disease, the government determined, through selective science, that addiction was a choice and therefore a felony. Anyone who said otherwise was charged with obstruction of justice. Addicted people were doing time all over the country, with some seeking asylum in other countries. Jeanne knew when she recovered she would most likely be jailed for addiction. Even though she was in recovery and clean, one misstep was all the government needed, and the accident was a huge misstep. Knock, knock. Jeanne's sister Lori poked her head inside the hospital room door. You up for a visitor? Jeanne was hooked up to tubes and wires that chirped or dripped something into her veins. Yeah, is it just you? Lori came in with some flowers. It's just me. She closed the door. How are you feeling? Like a truck hit me. She gave a weak laugh. She sighed. Ugh, that sense of humor. Lori put the flowers on the dresser. I thought these would cheer you up. Thanks, I'm not feeling very cheery unless they let me hit the dilaudid button. I totally understand. Lori took off her coat and draped it over a chair. It's snowing outside. She came to her sister's bedside and held her hand. I am so sorry, sweetie. I can't imagine what you must be going through. Do you want to talk? Jeanne wanted to roll over and shut off the conversation, but the wires and drips prevented it. Not much to talk about. It's not real, it can't be. It has to be a horrible dream. I just looked down for a second. She started to cry. We were late, and his family is so harsh. I know, I'm sorry they're like that. Lori leaned in and hugged her sister. Some families have really poor social skills. I'm more worried about, the feds. You are a registered addict. They're going to be coming for you. I don't want to deal with that right now, please. The family is bad enough, Jeanne said. She gestured to an ornately carved object resting on another side table. Look at that thing. It was large, wooden, and rectangular. The dimensions were approximately 11 inches by 14 inches and about 3 inches in depth. The antique surfaces had been artfully rendered in high relief with depictions from the Bible and the Christmas legend. Lori turned. Good God, what is that? They said it was a Jesse tree, like an advent calendar or something. A Jesse tree? What the hell is that? Lori went to investigate and started playing with it. It's kind of neat, in a freaky sort of way. All these little doors. She went to open one. Don't. Jeanne stopped her. You're only supposed to open them one at a time, starting with December 1st and ending on Christmas. It's not time yet. Since when did you become a choir girl? December is just a few days away. What can it hurt? We're not religious. She went to open the first door again. Stop. Jeanne's eyes glistened with tears. It was Stefan's. His grandmother brought it to me. I think she wanted me to have it. I don't think it would be right to open it. Okay. Lori returned to her bedside. That's sweet of her, I suppose? I don't know, she was very creepy. She only came up here once to bring that thing. And she was cold about it, not sympathetic at all. She didn't even care how I was. She didn't even say anything in English. Don't worry about her. I've met her, remember? Those super orthodox people are odd. I mean, you have said it yourself. Religion ruins everything. And she is a perfect example. I try not to worry about anything they say or do, but Stefan was very close to her, his grandmother. Lori laughed. Come on, let's open the first door. I bet there is candy in it. I'm not supposed to have it. Listen, after what you have been through, I don't think a little piece of chocolate is going to hurt you. Lori went to get the picture frame-sized carved box. Just one door and we'll close it right up. Jeanne sat up as best she could. She was recovering from severe internal injuries. She made sure not to tangle her IV tubes, too. She looked at the book as it rested against her raised knees. Each little door was numbered 1 through 25, and the whole thing was an ornate carving of a family tree. In fact, the doors were slightly reversed, with door number 1 being close to the ground on the trunk, straddling above ground and below. She called it a Jesse tree? What is that? Lori took out her phone. I'll Google it. She typed in the search and waited for the return. It says here that it is the story of Jesse, the father of King David, all the way up to the birth of Jesus. The doors represent significant happenings or people along the timeline. The Advent calendar has a treat or some little lesson behind each door. I guess it can't hurt, right? Jeanne gripped the tiny brass knob on the door with the word father in German on it. She knew that from Stefan. He had been teaching her. I hope it is candy. Jeanne opened the tiny door. Surely, there was a tiny piece of dark chocolate. Think it's okay? She sniffed it. OMG, it's not poison. It's chocolate. Besides, it's traceable if it is poison. That makes me feel a whole lot better. Jeanne rolled her eyes and popped the chocolate in her mouth. Wow, that is dark. Very bitter. It's good, though. You love dark chocolate. Her sister reached for the calendar. Okay, I'll put it back now. It will be our secret. Jeanne savored and swirled the piece. It's really, really good. You enjoy it because you deserve it. Thank you, grandmother, Jeanne winked playfully. Look, I'm going to leave and let you rest. I have to get dinner for the boys. Lori kissed her sister on the cheek. You get better, you hear me? We have lots of wine to drink. I won't have much time for that, probably. I'm going to jail, you know that. I'm a registered, recovering addict. They'll have to look at that. You weren't on anything. Toxicology already cleared you. The government doesn't care. Addicts are criminals. They say once an addict, it rewires your brain and makes you unable to make good decisions. Addiction always runs the show, even if you've been sober for decades. No one ever lets you forget, and they never forgive. See, that was thought up by whack job zealots. Religion ruins everything. I'm going now. I love you. Love you too. Her sister left, and Jeanne got some restless sleep here and there. A few hours passed, and the attendant nurse came in. She was pleasant, but not much different from the nurse before. They all blended together by now. However, Jeanne was thinking about the candy. It reminded her of a distant feeling from years ago. The feeling of when she was an addict. The tranquility, clear thinking, relief. So much relief. The pain medication she was taking was regulated to make sure she didn't fall again into addiction. After the car accident, though, they had to give her something. How are you doing? The nurse asked. It's good to be alive, Jeanne replied. The nurse checked the monitors. How is your pain? Any discomfort? I wish I could give you something else, but this is the only painkiller you're allowed as a registered addict. I'm recovering. I'm okay anyway. Jeanne looked at the calendar. She remembered the chocolate. Could you do me a favor? Could you bring me that over there? The nurse looked at what she was pointing at. That's very interesting. It's an advent calendar, right? She went to it and brought it over. Where did you get it? My fiancé. Jeanne choked a little. Stefan's grandmother gave it to me. It was his when he was a boy. Oh sure, hun. The nurse fetched it. Here you go. I'll put it back when I come draw your blood. Thanks. Jeanne watched the nurse leave. She wasted no time in opening door number 2. As expected, there was another small piece of dark chocolate. Jeanne popped it in her mouth and savored the melting confection while she was alone. The bitter and sweet was a perfect mix. The moment she swallowed, Jeanne felt the pain subside. She didn't even want to push the button. That familiar angst from years ago was crawling like spiders in her veins. She took a third and a fourth candy. It could have been 10 minutes, or it could have been 10 hours by the time the nurse returned. Jeanne had eaten a few more candies. She also managed to get out of bed and was sitting up in the chair next to it. The IV and monitor cables were stretched to the maximum and barely reached without dislodging. Oh no! The nurse was alarmed. What are you doing? You're not supposed to be up. She depressed the emergency intercom. I need help in 504. She went to Jeanne. Let's get you back in the bed. You have serious internal injuries. You need to rest. I don't want to be back in the bed. Her gaze was distant and fixed somewhere beyond. It's all my fault he is dead. I loved him so much. We need to get you back in the bed, and then you can tell me about it. How's that? The nurse reached for Jeanne, but she resisted. No, I'm tired of being in the bed. I need to sit up. She was floppy, sloppy, unfocused. I am so sorry. Just then the attendant came in, and together they got Jeanne back into bed. The nurse checked her IV and her connections. Once satisfied, she took the vein tap on Jeanne's right hand and drew off 3 vials of blood. She told the attendant something, but Jeanne found her hearing was more like buzzing bees than voices. She didn't care, she just wanted one more piece of candy. Honey, the nurse said while looking at some of her monitors. How are you feeling? She had a very concerned look on her face. Can you tell me why you got up? The attendant disappeared. I just couldn't be in the bed anymore. I think there is a spider in it. I feel spiders. There are no spiders in the bed. She thought for a second and then checked Jeanne's pain medication drip. The monitor showed she had not pressed the button for several hours. Have you been using your pain medication? My what? Jeanne could not focus. The pain button. This one. The nurse tapped it. When is the last time you pressed it? I can't remember. A second nurse entered the room. Hi, I'm Mary. I'm the nurse practitioner on the floor tonight. Jeanne didn't seem to understand the words. I think there may be a malfunction of your pain IV. I think it has administered too much, or has been leaking into your IV. I am going to disconnect it until we get your results back from the lab. I am so sorry. Jeanne didn't care. Her pain couldn't be absolved by a drip. Her eyes drifted to the Jesse tree. Stefan's tree. There were doors to open. She needed to open more doors. Maybe he would be behind one of them. I need to use the bathroom. Can I get up? You are on a catheter, you shouldn't need to go. The original nurse said, and checked her bag. There isn't much in your bag. I'll keep an eye on it for you. But I need to get up. I can't stand this bed. She pressed again to get out. The practitioner prepped a sedative. This will help you. It's a sedative authorized for addicts. She grabbed Jeanne's IV and injected it. In an instant, the drug spread through her veins. The screaming anxiety was satiated. Jeanne stopped struggling and let her head hit the pillow like a bowling ball. Her body was relaxed, but her brain was alive. Electrical synapses fired. Images invaded her thoughts. Jeanne's body was like a mannequin, strangely unresponsive to any thought of motion. However, her eyes still moved. She focused on the IV bag. Something was inside it. Something small, silvery with black legs and crawling. The spider was swimming, all shiny like liquid mercury, legs floundering. There was another one crawling up the tube coming from her arm. Another silver spider. She could do nothing, for the sedative had immobilized her. Her gut squirmed. The spiders were inside her, she felt them. Pollen in an allergic nose. It was like her addiction was alive and fresh all over again. The nurse could see Jeanne struggling. Give it a minute. Gradually, the sedative overpowered the sensations. She fell back upon the pillow. Her breathing returned to a measured flow, and the sweating ceased. Jeanne could open her eyes. The nurse had already gone away to take care of someone else. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Her eyes wandered the room. Her paranoia did not cease with the return of even breathing. Something was not right. Then her eyes detected something shiny, something silver moving. It was a small spider the size of a pencil eraser, and it was crawling inside her IV bag. There was more than one. Several silver metallic spiders writhed and ticked along in the IV bag. Jeanne struggled against the powerful sedative and grabbed the call button and smashed it numerous times. The duty nurse who had just been there returned. Jeanne, is everything okay? Jeanne withdrew into a tight ball in the bed and pointed at the IV pole. In the bag. Do you see it? The nurse looked at the bag. See what? Spiders. I saw spiders in it. Metal ones. Silver ones. There's nothing in the bag, the nurse said. She checked the drip. I think maybe you saw the ceiling lights reflecting in the drip. The nurse turned off the track lighting. That should do it. Jeanne sighed. She felt like a fool. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Tears were streaming down her face. I'm having a hard time. I totally understand, the nurse said. Please now, try and sleep. Jeanne could not sleep, though. She pretended to get comfortable and try to sleep just so the nurse would leave. She saw the spiders again. They never left. They were in the IV bag. Maybe more chocolate would help. Fighting against the sedative, Jeanne got out of the bed and went to the calendar. She opened door after door and ate the chocolates. They satisfied her. Then there was only one door left to open. 25. She had eaten all the candy. Something made her hesitate, though. as she reached for that last tiny wooden door. It was the last piece. It would be gone. She should save it. No, she craved it. She had to eat it. Jeanne pulled the door open. However, instead of chocolate, there was a little folded piece of paper. She unfolded it and noticed there was a tiny script written in German. For Stefan. You killed him. Your demon will kill you. Jeanne gasped, and the paper slipped from her hands. A rush of blinding electricity coursed through her veins. Her skin pricked and crawled. The little doors that had once been closed were open. Each compartment had a tiny silver spider where there was once chocolate. They scurried forth. As they left, another would come from the same door. Jeanne fell in a faint backward. The spiders were streaming down the dresser to the floor. Metal gleaming. Silver bodies. Marching. Scurrying. Jeanne struggled back in the bed and reached for the nurse call button, but it had fallen out of reach. The spiders were on the bed now. They were in the IV bag. They were in the IV line squeezing downward to her veins. They covered her body in black legs, mercurial thoraxes, and abdomens. Jeanne scrambled to reach the dangling call button, but it was too far away. She grabbed the IV line and yanked them out of her arm before the spiders could get in her veins. Now they spilled from the tip of the tube. Alarms sounded as she pulled the other wires out of and off her body. The spiders covered her now. Their silver mass began to spin silver webs upon Jeanne. Her hands were bound down to the bed. Her feet were secured as well. Then a trail of spiders formed on her torso and streamed towards her mouth. She spat at them and struggled to keep her lips tight. They swarmed her hair, picking at her shut eyes, into her nostrils and sealed lips. Oh my God! The nurse returned to check on the alarms. She's having a seizure. She stepped out into the hall and shouted for help, then returned. Jeanne, help me. Jeanne gasped through clenched teeth. Get them off me. Help. The nurse could not see a thing, but Jeanne had opened her mouth to speak, and the spiders found their final pathway back into her body. It did not matter after that what happened. The silver spiders massed in her body, around her brain, and finally her heart, that could not find the will to keep beating.